Hi, my name's Lex. I'm an artist, and this is a drawing from my series Bettina Cat. This is Bloomie. He's a professor, a therapist, a podcast host, and a coffee shop owner. And you can see he has a nice little mustache. He's a golden doodle. Well, I had to make him more anthropomorphic, so I took away some of his curls in this particular drawing. This is from Christmas time, but I wanted to, and I didn't fill in that, but I wanted to show you how I do the vector drawing of him from coming out of sketches, where I would first start like this. Help me figure out a pose or like different clothing. He's taken a picture in this. I figured out his boots. So I just sort of sketch all over the piece of paper. It's just copy paper. So I like to figure out what direction he's going to be in. Here he is with Bettina. Bettina Cat is the main character, and her dog Max in front of a Christmas tree. So it's just figuring out where I want to go here. I'm trying to situate where he's going to sit. So I make up like little sketches in his coffee shop. And then his clothing, I'll go into like figuring out, taking apart things. I was going to try to do animations with this, but my computer, even though it's a Mac, wasn't strong enough to do this animate. So this would be cut up like this, so when you go to animate, you would take it in pieces and draw this all and then just do that. And here you can see he's a little frightened. So they're just rough sketches, but I do try to get emotion, the line work, and then just to begin, and here he is alarmed. He's very dramatic. I like it. Now here you can see I did add curls to his hair. So I do go from iterations where his hair and his ears are longer in some. He always wears a suit. Generally, I don't think I've ever seen him within his pajamas. I mean, acting like I really know him or Bettina, but you know, you get so involved with these characters, you start to really understand what they do when you're not around. So I feel. And here's his side view, which I love this part here, where he's got that sweet little, yeah, just a little face. It's super cute. He's just very kind. He's nervous. At a coffee shop, a lot of drama happens, and he's always trying to maintain like happiness for everybody. So he ends up being extremely nervous, and you can see here he's like overwhelmed, and the ears go up. And in this, it's like I've extended the ears bigger than, you know, the head. So it's such overly dramatic, which I think is okay, making his face like that. Here I've made him biting into pizza. So you can see the little teeth. It's, again, over the top. I really want that in this series, where each of the characters is really almost ridiculous, but that makes it fun, and I enjoy doing this as an illustrator. And here he is. Again, you can see from the original drawing where I showed you with the Christmas drawing, he doesn't have all this hair, but I figure things as I go, how I want them. He keeps the mustache in his eyes, and his eyeglasses are like a tortoiseshell frame. So, again, another side view. And okay, so this is him, and then I have to show you the next vector drawing where I sketch him looking at the camera, or at the, I think he's looking sort of to the side, kind of could be looking at us as that fourth wall. And the Bettina never takes off her sunglasses, so you assume she's looking at you. And this is my dog Max, that is now Bettina's dog. He's no longer with me, but he is in my drawing, so, and he's a character. So you can see I put them together. It's still about Bettina, but I think Bloomie has a very strong presence, and that's what I really want in this series, where he is not, he's secondary, he's always going to be secondary to her, but he has a lot of strength, and he's able to sort of curb her drama. Here they are with friends in front of the Christmas tree. They're also anthropomorphic characters, and I just do like a quick sketch, hands in the pocket. She's holding Max, Bettina's holding Max, And it's kind of interesting that she's off to the side in this drawing, which normally she would be in front and center. And this is their friends. They've met them on the green in front of the tree. Again, just posing him with clothing. I want to make like a scarf and his boots. And so that's like Bettina. I don't necessarily, and that's the rest of them, I think. I don't necessarily need everything to be perfect when I do these sketches. I just need them to help me with the poses. So what I'll do then is I photograph it with my phone and then send it to my iPad, and then I just take my sketches and trace them and then start filling them in. It's just a lot easier than trying to, you know, start from scratch. But you can see where I simplified in the vector form. But I think as I go along, I'm going to add the curls, because I really think that is like in his, you know, a lot more of his details on it. Oops, I just messed up. Just so you can see where he's going. Okay, so here I have where you can see I've put him into a chair, so he changes a little bit. And I'm working on the window of his coffee shop. I put his shoes on. He would wear something like this with this kind of a shoe, and then I'm able to put like shadows underneath underneath things, the coffee cup on this, like plants. You know, I'm experimenting, put a plant there. What I do is everything is drawn separately. Like this plant is separate, this plant is separate, the coffee cup is separate, he's separate, the chair is all made. So, you know, I'm just trying to always figure out where I can go with the storyline, but I want it to be, this is almost too modern, so I need to keep working on the iteration. I don't mind if this is a little funky. Well, I have to fix that chair there because one of the bricks got on top of it. So I don't mind the chair is funky, but it has to make sense. Like this has to curve back better. So with a lot of working to do, I like all the extra things like the plants. I think they work. The coffee cup works. Let me get this off of here. The coffee cup works. You can see I put lines in to try to make things go linear. I'm not great at line work, so I just use a lot of the lines to help me put that in, or I put the boards in separately. I just make a vector board, and vector is through Adobe Illustrator in this case. So I use the pencil to draw with, and it's helpful. Then I could pick colors and add on to it. So I think in this case, I think his shoes are a little oversized compared to his body, but I'm okay with that because again, this is a little over the top. But you can see like the details of his clothing, where I chose to put like all the shading around the he's wearing like a button-down shirt. You can't really see that he has tortoiseshell glasses here, so work on that. But you know it's him. He always likes to have little patches on his clothing, and he does dress, like here he doesn't have a suit on, but he has something that's more dressy, sort of on the casual side. He might be by himself in this situation. He spends a lot of time with a lot of people, and he's kind of a loner, and it's really ironic that he's a therapist, a professor or an ex-professor, a coffee shop owner, and a podcast host. So that's kind of hard to be, you know, on your own or a loner and be so involved with all these characters. So each character comes in and is a little disturbing to him. So he's always kind, but he does carry a little spoon, which I will show you, that he will rub to give himself a little comfort. And I think that it's also ironic. He's had it since he was a child. So the town that they live in is called Bloomtail, probably from him being, his last name is, well, his last name is Taylor, but he's a Bloomford. That's where his family's first names are Bloomford, although he's Bloomie. Anyhow, the town is like a quintessential sort of New England-y type town, even though it's obviously a town full of anthropomorphic animals. So I'm still, like I said, working out. I want this to be very charming, and it's not. So anyhow, this is, I just want to show you how the vector images will look. Where you can see the shoes take on a more realistic, you can see that moved, that little stripe moved. Take on a realistic look, which I want to have. And same thing with the plants. But I want like a warmth, and it's lacking the warmth in the back. But I can take this and redo the background, and that should be okay. Now, I did this vector drawing for the website, and it's not something I think I'll keep. I think I'll redo it. You can see I put like these almost Van Gogh type lines on his face to give him like a fur look. I don't really like it because you see how simplistic the jacket is, the tie, and the shirt, but his hair gets a little wild. I don't mind that. I do mind the texture of the hair on his face. So this, I'm working on between doing coloring pages, which would be all line work anyhow, so you wouldn't really see this, but you know, I'm gonna do other things in the future with them as vector items, vector characters that won't necessarily only be line work. So my next go is to show you how I go from the sketch to take it into here and work on him and his body in a full clothing outfit, and picking out clothes for him, and having you get to know more as a character. So each week I'd like to have, so you can see this is my sketch that I've taken into, well, I don't know why it doesn't show up good there, but you can see I sketched here first, bring that in, and then I'll draw on top of it. Here you can see I've started to draw things in. And you know, being in vector, it's all layer work. You do things in layers. Let's see if I can open this. And that's, some of these aren't opening. Let's see. Okay, so for instance, you can see all the layers I have here. If you don't work in vector, this is how it happens. You have all these different shapes that are made, and every time you want to do something, you hit that plus, and it gives you an opportunity to have these layers. I have some things on top of each other, but they go on top. Like for instance, if I wanted to move that green button and get rid of it, I would just either take the eyeball and lift it, or delete it, or remove things by moving through the layers. So, but anyhow, this is what I'm going to do next for you. Is I'm going to draw in the vector, and maybe even draw the line work for what the coloring page is going to be, so you can see how I take it from, you know, this full thing. And you can see this is how I developed Bettina Cat, for instance. That's her. These are not connected. All right, here's, no, none of these are connected. I don't know why these aren't connected, but anyhow, this is how I do the vector for the coloring book. I come in here and I do all the coloring book in here on my, you know, they're not connected, but on my iPad. And I'll show you throughout my series is I'll be creating each character and then bring it into my iPad and do the line work. Sometimes I'll fill them in with the color part of it, or I'll use markers or watercolors to fill them in as well. So I thought this would be fun to share with you. I wanted to show you my process. So I use different things to give me perspective, whether it be on the character's body or clothing, accessories. Even looking at a real dog, in this case being Bloomie, I would look at a golden doodle and then go and use what I can get out of it. Remember, the golden doodle would be a dog, and he has the anthropomorphic look with the eyes and glasses, and you know, the hair that's stylized more than a golden doodle, although some characters some people could say that dogs do have like quite the characteristic. So I got this book when I was in college. I'm 66, so it's quite old. I think it said it was $2.50 right here. It's a great character book to come and look at for life drawing. I've referred to this so much in my years of wanting to find a character. So not all these things are gonna be helpful for every character I use, but in so many ways it is helpful to find the way, you know, I'm an illustrator and a mural artist. I've worked on many things, but I'm not the type of person that invents things out of my head and it's perfect. I look at things and that's just how I work. So you can see that, you know, the different perspective, and it's nice because I put sometimes lines, it shows you the top of the head, how things are. It's really quite lovely how it's done. And so I will use this to create characters from the series or for other things. Like obviously that's not him. It wouldn't be him, he's not that character. But this might be him, or like sitting like that might be him, not him. At least I don't think this would be him. It's sort of like almost too aggressive for his, and that's a little too passive for him. So it's not always going to be something I can use, but it's a super great book if you ever, as an illustrator, if you're interested in great art. I think you can still find this book in publication, but you know, obviously a newer form of it. But this is never going to go out of you know, style or out of interest because it's such a great book. It's pretty beat up. It's obviously been with me many years. So then I'll come into finding a catalog. Like for instance, this is a men's catalog, and if I wanted to do his shoes, I would just go and like start to sketch, and I'm working on this one, like putting in what I think would be his shoes, maybe putting the shoes by his bedside or wherever he might keep them, or on him. So I think it's nice for a coloring page to also have separate accessories so that the person could then color these separate of having a character wearing them. So I would just slightly sketch this in, bring this around like that. I use like a regular number 2 pencil. Sometimes I use the other pencils that you can click down, but I like to use the number 2 pencil. So then I'll find these little areas where you have to bring up a little bit to give a texture to the sole, and do that. Yeah, this could be a very cute coloring accessory, and I'll do accessory pages for him like I do with Bettina, and bring this down like this. So what I would do is continue to sketch this, and then take the sketch into the vector that I showed you earlier, the iPad with the Adobe Illustrator. And then as a person coloring it, you could pick how you wanted to fill it in. Now, I wouldn't put the shading at all in here because it's going to be vector. If I were to shade it, I would start by going underneath everything like this and shading in here. But since it's not going to be that kind of a drawing, I'll just leave that to show you how I would do that, which gives it a nicer look when you can do that. So I'll simplify these lines, do the eyelets, looks like they have 2 right here, and then cross over like this, and there's one here, come like that, and that other shoelace would come over here like this. And so that is the beginning of this set of shoes. There's only one there. Let me shape this better. I do is like come back later and look at how this has got more of a curve right here. Yeah, and just curve it down like this. I'll work on it a little bit, but this is the basic idea of what I do. Is I lightly sketch something and then bring it into, as I mentioned, into the vector. I might throw a set of socks in there for his accessory. That would be fun to to color as well. Just try to make these look like a little bit less like structured. So I would curve this down and give it a more of a wavy look to it, so that, you know, it's, bring this down more, so that it's not structured like the shoe would be or the boot would be. And then put in like some lines in here like they have there. That would give the person coloring more fun. I think I'll do the toe like that and the toe like this, or the heel like that and the toe like that, and bring in, I'll simplify those so the person, and then stick another one maybe going up, like just curving it to be a little more dramatic like this, so that, or I might just make it more regular. So if I don't like something, I just erase it. Try to get that shadow out of your way, because I know this light is getting a little, if I don't like that, I could just erase that, or leave it as messy as I want, because when I go into the vector I can straighten it out. Just maybe bring this sock like this, so that it's on its own for coloring. And I also have to remember, a person coloring is going to want like the space to put the markers in, and not necessarily want it to be a perfect illustration, you know. Maybe I'll make that a little bit less straight there, like that. I'll even them out. I'll count how many stripes are there. I'm just trying to show what I would do for an accessory for him. Throw in this little hat. I think I'd like a little, I think he likes things like that, more detail. See, this hat there was not the way he would want it. So I have to consider his character, what would fit better on him. Somebody else might, another character might not want the pom-pom, but I think Bloomie would want the pom-pom. So I'll make a stripe like this to match his socks. I feel like he would want that. And so you can see, this is how I would begin everything, trying to think out what is best for him, what's best for the person coloring, you know, and it becomes like a part of the thought process for me, figuring out where I go in the storyline. I do character development where I figure out along the way what the character would act like, what they would eat, what would frighten them. Because the series is long enough that, you know, the way they interact with each other, it's actually like almost like a graphic novel, because there is a storyline. It's just not a coloring book. These are characters that actually interact with each other quite literally. So, but I just wanted to show you my thought process and how I come up with things, what I use. I mean, the most simplistic thing, like a eraser, this is like just, you know, I would sharpen my pencil on this little great tool, just a number 2 pencil, and this is like fun because it does have the 2 size pencils. I use watercolor pencil a lot of times for my work, and the eraser on the other end, so it keeps it together, and it's a nice thing. So these are my 2 work pieces for when I sketch. I will go, like I mentioned, to a catalog and just look through it. This is a great look for him, and just look, this could be like how he would pose, but I would make it a lot less, you know, sturdy looking in terms, has a little bit more slouch to him. Bloomie has more slouch to him, but I could see him wearing this kind of sneaker, this button down. You know, this is the kind of clothing he'd wear. So this kind of a catalog works for me to borrow and change things around. I wouldn't use this shirt, but I might use the shirt to sketch, but not put these flowers or so forth for him on it. But again, it just gives me an opportunity to use a source that works to build a character's look. This could work for a couple characters in the storyline, but mostly for Bloomie. So that's really how I would go about creating for him. So this would be definitely a page for him to have accessories. And for the coloring page, I would come and finish like sneakers and socks, a hat, maybe a set of sneakers with the boots, maybe a watch, and little things so it fills the entire page with the illustrations. But that's the beginning of my thought process for Bloomie and sharing it with you. I will find something further to show you as I come along in the series, but I think today this is kind of like where I want it to go with you. So my name's Lex. I hope you subscribe. That would be great, and follow and like. I also have another series that I'm working on called Lily Luna. It's on YouTube. It's a toddler series. What I felt with toddlers is that everything screamed at them. I have great niece and nephew, and when I'd watch TV with them, everything was so loud. So I made a very simplistic YouTube channel called Lily Luna, and it's a low stimulation. So I'm able to use my illustration to go on and do other things in this part of my life as a senior, but I've never stopped working as an artist. So this is what I'd like to share with you. My time with Bloomtail, which is my characters, and Bettina Cat, which is my series. Thanks for watching. And one last thing I wanted to do was share with you my Bettina Cat coloring book. It's available on Amazon. There also are coloring bundles that will also go on to the website when I can get the bundles built out. But definitely you can purchase this on Amazon, and it's available. Thanks.